Hello guys, welcome back to another video in this ReactJS beginner tutorial series. In this video, we are going to discuss about components. We haven't discussed anything about component, we just heard the term component. We will be discussing that in depth and try to see what are all the things that is available in the component. So in this specific video, we will be discussing about what is component, what are all the types of component available, and each components and its syntax and those differences, and then we will be discussing about on which scenario you choose which component that opt for that specific scenario and project. So these are all the things we will be going to discuss. And if in case this is the first time you land on this video course series, I'm just introduce myself saying that I'm Gopi. I'm having a decade of experience working with various web and mobile application development, and I'm here to share my knowledge on specifically React with you all. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to get notification for every video that we are uploading here. So without spending any time, we'll just jump into the actual content of the video. So first and foremost, what is component? So component are nothing but a reusable building block of UI. You just consider that it is a function, the function going to return a set of HTML code. That's it. It could be a function or class, that's apart, but just think that it's just the function going to return some HTML code. So component is nothing but reusable building blocks. This component represent any part of the web page. It could be a single text box, it could be a button, it could be a heading, or it could be a specific section of the page, or else the entire page. For sake of example, if you can consider this Amazon website, you can see that there are many different details are available. If you see this, there is a box or a container, and you can see this container is also similar to this. There is a header. They actually shows 4 different product and also shows the total views. Of course here they didn't, but still they have the things. So this is what we call it as component. This button could be a component. If I get into this tool, you could see that the page is similar and you can see the buttons look similar. So this could be a button. This entire box could be a button. This specific drop down could be a button. Or this entire content, okay, this entire content. If you get into another product, this will look similar. If I take this below, you'll be seeing that the page is actually similar. So how does they able to do that? And that's what the component is all about. So component is nothing but a simple reusable building block of code that could be anything within the web application. So our main agenda is to create a component that could be reusable wherever we need. Next thing is, what are all the type of component available? And of course, there is a class-based component and function-based component. Class-based component are nothing but the legacy component, which means the old project having those kind of component. And function-based components are nothing but the recent one. Both are actually available in the same thing, but still React core team not recommend us to use class component. Let's try to understand how does a function component looks like. What are the advantages that we have in the function component? First and foremost, function component is nothing but just the JavaScript function. That's all. And this function going to return me a JSX code, which is nothing but a HTML code. That is the content going to render on the page. Next thing is hook method. There are many different inbuilt hook methods are available. That hook method helps you to do some kind of additional functionality within this component. And of course, there is a way to create our own custom hook method as well that will do custom functionality within the function component. This binding is no needed. Of course, this always represents to the object. Function doesn't have anything to do with the object. So here we don't have any concept like this at all. So the syntax for function component is always clearer. Custom hooks, as I said already. If you're not aware of what is hooks, you just think that there is a various event available. Let's say example, if I have to place my bet and I have to take some kind of guts. So that's nothing but event. So on each stages, there are many different events available. That's event, we call it as hook method here. Use state is a hook method. Use effect is a hook method. We will be discussing about those hooks in depth as we further move into the course, but still as of now, hooks are nothing but inbuilt method that do some kind of functionality within the component. Here you can see the sample code that tells how this thing is working. Function counter. So this is just the JavaScript function, and I'm having a variable constant, having a set const use state. We don't know what is use state at all. We will be discussing that afterwards. But you can see this specific counter function returns a button. This is JSX code, and this JSX code going to render on the UI screen. That's all about the function component. Next thing is class component. In this class component is actually, as I said, it is a legacy one, but still it follows the ES6 class. So ES6 is nothing but the version of the class version of the JavaScript that was introduced quite long back, and that version of the JavaScript has class functionality, and that class got inherited from react.component class. That's it, nothing specific apart from that. Every class component will be having a render method, and that render method returns me a JSX code, and that JSX code will get rendered on the user screen. That's all. That's the primary difference. Okay. We know function component as various hook method. Example, use effect, use state. Likewise, class component as lifecycle methods. Those lifecycle method tells what should I do when the class component load. What should I do once the component load completes? What should I do when that component work is done and I wanted to remove that? And that's what is nothing but life cycle. So every human being having a life cycle. Likewise, the component is also having a life cycle, and that life cycle methods available only for class component. Example, life cycle method for class component is component did mount. Okay, and then class component handles states. We haven't discussed anything about state, but just think that there is a way called state that can be accessed with the help of this keyword. This keyword is actually bound to the object. Next thing is, this is a sample class component code. If you see, there is a class keyword, class name. This welcome class get inherited from react.component, and this react.component class is actually coming from React library. If I remove this, then this is just the class of ES6 with a function. That's all. Okay. If I include this extends, which means I'm inheriting from react.component into welcome class. So this class has a method called render. Whatever the HTML code which call as JSX, so whatever the JSX code returns, that rendered in the browser screen. Next thing is, what are all the differences? Of course, we must have to know the differences so that you will know when to use which component. First thing is syntax. Of course, function component is just the function. Class component is a class. So that is a difference in the syntax. Next thing is how each component handles state. Here, class component uses this dot state. Function component uses use state. Next thing is lifecycle method. Of course, lifecycle method available only for class component, not for the function component. Performance. When it comes to performance, function component is lighter compared to the class component, because here we have object and all those things that actually makes the component heavier. Function component doesn't have any such kind of the thing, so it is lighter compared to the class component. So that's the difference. Next thing is various state method. Of course, this state method is nothing but how we are handling the methods, what are the things that we are going to do, what are the lifecycle methods available, what are the hooks method available, that differences. We'll be discussing them in depth, and keep that in mind. Now we are going to discuss about when to use which component. Keep that in mind. Class component is legacy one. React core team doesn't recommend anyone to use class component unless your version of React is quite older. As far as I know, all the projects have been upgraded to the latest version. So everywhere you go, we will be using function component only, because it is lighter, it fast well, it has a better performance compared to the class component. Here we are having class component, which is legacy one. It's available only in the older project. That's what it is, a legacy one. Function component is a recommended way that I already told, and all the new projects follows the function component. By this time, we come to know various advantages, disadvantages of different types of components, what component is, how it does work, and what data it returns, what we do usually with that data. All those things we have discussed and understood. Now, it is time to see or learn another topic called virtual DOM that we'll be discussing in the next video. Let's catch up in the next video. Till then, bye. Take care. If you have any questions, any clarification, please put it in the chat box. I'll be going through that and will update that as soon as possible. Till then, bye. Take care.